Welcome back. There are conflicting reports on the state of the health of the doctor who blew the whistle on the emergence of the new coronavirus. Earlier reports had it that he was in critical condition, but the Wuhan hospital is reported to have announced his death. Dr. Lee had noticed 7 cases of a virus that he thought looked like SARS, the virus that led to a global epidemic in 2003, and warned fellow medics on December the 30th. He was, however, told by police to stop making what they called false comments. In other news, the U.S. President Donald Trump has been reveling in his victory at the Senate's impeachment trial, brandishing 2 newspapers carrying the headlines at a national prayer meeting this morning. Here's Simon Pusey with Around the World in 5.
Good evening from the Channel's newsroom here in London.
Donald John Trump, President of the United States, is not guilty as charged in the first article of impeachment.
The Senate voted to acquit him 52-48 on charges of abuse of power and 53-47 on obstruction of Congress. Democrats charged Mr. Trump in December with pressuring Ukraine to smear a potential White House rival. He will become the first impeached president to seek re-election.
And worst of all, these Democrats spent the last 3 years on one investigation after another. These do-nothing Democrats, we know, passed those articles of impeachment. They rushed this partisan impeachment through the House in a shameful attempt, now failed attempt, to overturn the will of the American people.
A high-speed train derailed in the northern Italian province of Lodi in the early hours of Thursday, killing at least 2 people and interrupting traffic on the line between Milan and Bologna. Emergency services were at the scene and a railway official said 2 people had been killed and 2 others had suffered relatively serious injuries. Media reports say 2 members of the train crew had been killed and 27 people injured. Witnesses and medical officials say Israeli troops have shot dead a Palestinian who was taking part in a violent protest against US President Donald Trump's peace plan. The 17-year-old was the first Palestinian killed in unrest since the peace plan was unveiled last week. He was killed as he took part in a protest in Hebron, a Palestinian city with Jewish settlers in the occupied West Bank. Meanwhile, Israeli police say a gunman shot at a border policeman, lightly wounding him, before police returned fire and killed him. That shooting took place not far from a popular nightlife venue where a few hours earlier a car had rammed into Israeli soldiers who were sightseeing after coming to the city to be sworn in upon completing basic training. Malawi's President Peter Mutharika has accused the country's constitutional court of attacking democracy after judges said there had been vote tampering and correction fluid used to alter the results. Mr. Mutharika says he plans to go to the Supreme Court to appeal against the ruling, which he says was full of errors that needed to be corrected and a serious subversion of justice. He stressed it only related to procedural issues and not vote rigging. On Monday, the court annulled the result of May's election, in which Mr. Mutharika narrowly won re-election. Ivory Coast's Navy has seized a record amount of cocaine in small Louis Vuitton bags. The almost 900 pounds of cocaine contained in hundreds of plastic wrap packages bearing logos from Louis Vuitton and Mercedes-Benz was a record drug haul for Ivory Coast's Navy. A special Navy unit spotted the Spanish flag ship carrying the drugs off the country's coastline and say it was headed to the commercial capital Abidjan. It's not yet clear where the cocaine originated from or who is responsible for trafficking it. 5 people were arrested as a result of the raid. A host of actors have paid tribute to Kirk Douglas, who's died at the age of 103. The movie star who fought gladiators, cowboys and boxers on the big screen died on Wednesday. Speaking at the launch event for the Monte Carlo Television Festival's 60th anniversary celebrations, fellow actors were full of praise for Kirk Douglas as they remembered working with him as well as enjoying watching him on the big screen.
Kirk taught me so much about movie business, making of movies. Consummate professional, wonderful guy, and he knew every part of making films. He understood it all. And he taught me humility when it comes to being an actor.
And finally, NASA astronaut Christina Koch has completed the longest ever single spaceflight by a woman. The Russian Soyuz spacecraft carrying Koch parachuted down to the grasslands of Kazakhstan at around 9:12 GMT. She spent 328 days on the International Space Station, surpassing the previous record held by fellow American Peggy Wilson on the 28th of December last year. And that's your international news around the world in 5.
Thanks a lot, Simon. Let's take a look at some sports now. Here's Ayotunde Balogun.
Many thanks, Ijoma. Nigeria's D Tigers have taken a major step to qualifying for Tokyo 2020 by mauling Mozambique 85-51 in their first game of the FIBA Olympics qualifying tournament in Belgrade. Nigeria trailed by 1 point after the first quarter, but roared into the lead in the second and never trailed again on their way to a comprehensive 34-point victory. Promise Amokamara led the way with 14 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists and 5 steals, while captain Adora Elonu and point guard Ezine Kalu combined for 21 points. Nigeria will next face Serbia in their second group game on Saturday. The top 3 teams in Group A will qualify for the Tokyo 2020 Olympics. Meanwhile, President of the Nigeria Basketball Federation, Musa Kida, is hopeful that the new D Tigers head coach Mike Brown will be able to convince players of Nigerian descent in the NBA to play for the national team. Brown is set to lead Nigeria to the Summer Olympics in Tokyo, and Kida believes he can use his influence to attract American-born talents to a team that already includes current NBA players like Al-Farouq Aminu, Chimizi Metu, Josh Okogie, and Gabby Vincent.
We're going to be looking to curry these Nigerian potentials that we have in the NBA, just like we've been doing in the past. And we stand, I think, a better chance of having them on the bench playing with the Tigers, with Mike Brown, who is a natural coach to them. He is somebody who has had a relationship with them outside of the Tigers. So again, I think we're going to take advantage of that type of intimacy in order to improve the players that we have.
To the Para-Powerlifting World Cup in Abuja, Ali Abubakar has called for more support for Nigerian lifters after winning gold in the junior men's 65-kilogram category. Abubakar, who set new personal records on his 3 lifts, believes with the right encouragement, himself and his compatriots can achieve great things for the country.
But the fact that I won a gold medal is fantastic for me. So it's really good, it's great. It went on very well. I'm hoping for the government out there and the viewers out there that are watching us that we need more support. We need encouragement. At least we have done our part. They should show us appreciation that they really love what we are doing and they are right behind us. They should support us in any way they feel an athlete needs to be supported.
Organizers of the Tokyo 2020 Olympics have set up a task force to coordinate with public health authorities on how to respond to the growing coronavirus epidemic. Tokyo 2020 CEO Toshiro Muto will chair the newly created Novel Coronavirus Countermeasures Task Force. And that's sports news. I'm Ayotunde Balogun. Back to you, John.
Thanks a lot, Ayotunde. And the main news again. The Independent National Electoral Commission today wielded the big stick by deregistering 74 political parties over failure to meet electoral requirements. The Commission also fixed September the 19th and October the 10th for the governorship elections in Edo and Ondo states. Also today, lawmakers in the upper legislative chamber moved to begin the amendment of the nation's constitution as the Senate President sets up a 56-member Constitution Review Committee. And Wuhan Hospital today announced the death of the coronavirus whistleblower, Dr. Li Wenliang. Well, that's the news at 10 tonight. Many thanks for staying with us. I'm Ijoma Onyato. Good night.